that is supposed to be here. So we'll go ahead and get started. And let's see. Let me see if I can share my screen here. And we'll bring our PowerPoint up. Okay, y'all should be seeing a PowerPoint now, hopefully. And you know, this is going to be real informal. You know, Priscilla Thomas, Scott, and myself are going to be kind of teaching this today and leading through it. And if you have any questions, you know, feel free to raise your hand, unmute your mic so that we'll know that you have a question, and stop us at any time. But this is the first of several trainings opportunities we plan to offer in regards to 4-H online and group enrollment and those kinds of things. And so hopefully we'll get better at this as we offer more of these. And we thought this was a real timely topic to just kind of go over and refresh people's memories and what you need to be doing to wrap up your group enrollment data entry here in the month of September as we approach that deadline. Okay. Now I cannot get my screen to advance. Okay, the things we're going to talk about today are delivery modes and what they are, and then we're going to move on to what to report and what not to report. That's very important, so that you're only spending your time reporting those things that need to be entered in as a group enrollment in 4-H Online. We're going to talk a little bit about projects and making sure that you're entering those, then duplications, and then we're going to talk a little bit about data entry, the deadline, and then we'll just kind of walk through entering a sample enrollment here in 4-H Online, and then we'll have time for even more questions. So we're going to go ahead and just move forward, and I'm going to turn it over to Priscilla Scott, and she's going to talk about delivery modes. So Priscilla.
Okay, Brian. Hey, good morning, everyone. Let me make sure I'm not muted. Okay, and as Brian mentioned, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yep. All right. As Brian mentioned earlier, I'm going to talk about the delivery modes, and we've been using the same delivery modes, you know, for the existence of doing group enrollment, whether it was with Blue Ribbon, and we're using the same delivery modes with the 4-H Online. As you can see, there are 5 delivery modes that you should be using when you're doing educational programs in your county. The first one is the short-term program and special interest activities or educational programs, and like with a special interest, that is using like when we did the body walk, embryology, you know, different things like that that have a special interest when you're doing programming in the school or with a group. The 4-H overnight camping. With the overnight camping, that means that you do have an overnight stay when you're doing a camping program with a group of youth and volunteers, and it's conducted or being taught by an extension staff or a volunteer. And this is not part of a school curriculum. Also, too, the 4-H day camping. I know that a lot of counties are doing day camping educational programs in their counties, and that's basically what it is. It's a group of lessons. It's conducted during the day, and the kids are not staying overnight. So are there any questions over the first 3 that I kind of went over?
Priscilla, I have a question.
Sharon?
The short-term and special interest, is there a required number of hours or sessions for that to be a special interest program or to qualify for special interest?
Well, it should be a series, or it does not have to be a series of educational. They can do just a one-time short-term program with a group, and it's not a series. But when you look at the, let me see which one that is. Let me look at my notes. That there is one hold on, excuse my pause because I'm trying to make sure that I give the accurate information to the group. No, it's not. It's not.
So whether it's a single instance or a series, it would be a short-term special interest if it were none of the other four.
Exactly. Where the series of learning experiences come in, that's with the school enrichment that I did. And I'll just quickly talk about that too, since she asked about the series of learning experiences. When we do the school enrichment programs, which we know that we're in the school doing programs with the youth, that there is a series of learning experiences that should be conducted with the program.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I kind of fumbled through all of that, but yeah, when you're doing a short-term program or special interest, you know, it can be that you're going in and you're doing one quick program about nutrition or something, you know, or something like that. But then when you're doing the school enrichment program, you know, it should be a series of learning experiences. And also, too, with the school enrichment programs, that what we're doing is that we are supporting the school curriculum. I know that a lot of agents go in, they do nutrition programs or healthy lifestyle programs, and that goes into basically, you know, in cooperation with the school curriculum that the kids are doing. And that's involving the extension agent or a volunteer that's doing the direct teaching with the school enrichment program. And the last one on here is the school age child care, child care, and that's basically when we're doing educational opportunities outside of the school hours, usually like in a school or a community center, incorporating our 4-H curriculum with those particular groups. But I know that when talking about the delivery modes and all of that, pretty much that we do have a lot of, you know, short-term programs, special interest, and also with the school enrichment. I know with reviewing the report that, you know, that we do see a lot of those delivery modes being used within our program. So are there any questions about the delivery modes? And also, too, just quickly, when you're doing your delivery modes, you know, that you don't report your 4-H club as a delivery mode. That's not a delivery mode. Okay?
Okay, thanks, Priscilla.
I know I was a little wobbly right there, but, you know, feel free to ask any questions.
Any questions about delivery modes before we move on? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next thing. And if you have a question, if you think of a question later on.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, Priscilla, you said on short-term special interest, you said we don't enter the stuff that we do with our clubs in there. Let's say if one of my clubs wanted me to come out and talk about, I don't know, how illustrated talks and demonstrations, like between the two. So if I did an educational lesson with them one time at their 4-H club meeting, that wouldn't go under short-term or special interest?
No, it would not, because when you're doing a short term or a special interest program, when you're doing things within your county club, I mean, those are educational experiences that they should already be receiving when they have their club meeting. So you wouldn't enter anything that you do with your club in group enrollment. Does that make sense, Erica? So why would you want to do that? Because, you know, with the club setup is that you have a certain amount of time that you're supposed to be providing them with an educational lesson or with a training within the club format.
So we don't enter that at all in group enrollment? That's what you're saying? Any of our work with our 4-H clubs doesn't go in the group enrollment? It just goes into the AIMS? Exactly.
Or if you're doing a log of what the kids are doing for specific trainings or things that you're doing, then you can add that to so that they can put that like in their record book or something like that. But no.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm just talking about the things that I do with them, like
No.
special time when I go out. I don't report that at all.
No, because they're a club member. And the club members are supposed to get an educational experience within the club setting. So if you're doing something with during their club time, then that's their educational experience.
Okay, because what I have been doing is I have been recording whenever I go out to a 4-H club meeting and I have to do the educational lesson, Erica has to do it, then I report it. I've been reporting it in the previous years in the group enrollment.
Well, we've always stated that when you do things within your club, that shouldn't go in group enrollment.
Okay, so only stuff that's done with non-4-H kids goes into group enrollment.
No, I'm not, because when you do group enrollment in a school, then you may have 4-H members intertwined in your school program. But when you look at the structure of a club, then there is that educational component of that club meeting. So if you're going and you're doing a training or you're talking about doing an educational lesson within your club during that time, that's part of your educational meeting component of that.
Oh.
This is Anna. I had a question.
Yes.
Whenever we have countywide workshops, some of our workshops are only 4-H members, and then sometimes some of them have non-4-H members that come to it. If it's countywide workshops, where does that fall?
Well, when you're doing a countywide, that's not club specific. Now, if you're doing a countywide workshop where you have 4-H members and others, then you can put that in group enrollment.
Okay.
But if you're going to that specific club doing a workshop on sewing, then you wouldn't put that in group enrollment.
Okay, thank you.
Erica, does that make sense? Or does that clarify?
I mean, it clarifies. It doesn't make sense to me, but it clarifies because I would think that we would count that as a group enrollment as well. But I've just been reporting over the years wrong. So,
Erica, all those are duplications. I mean, it's not going to add to your numbers.
But when we do that group enrollment, I thought the duplications would come out. I thought there was an option where you put.
Yes.
We'll talk about the duplications will come out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hey,
And I think in the past that we have expressed that when doing trainings about what to enter in our enrollment program is that when you're doing something in your club, then that wouldn't be a group enrollment. That's the educational component of a club meeting.
Okay.
Nita, did I see that you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just going back to old school, though. Do you want to hear old school? Does it might maybe help sort through this?
Sure, take a stab at it.
I think this has been an ongoing debate for 25+ years. So I think one, from Erica's standpoint and from the county standpoint, I agree. I think it's a way for us to get credit for the work we do with the club. But Priscilla's right, everything's going to be duplicated. So basically it just shows that yes, you are going to the clubs, you are doing special programs for them, but it's really not adding to your overall numbers. So it may show up as a short-term or special interest where you're documenting that you did do that, but it's not going into your overall numbers.
Correct.
So I guess my question is, can you still not count it as a short-term special interest to prove that you are managing and assisting your club? I mean, I guess I'm not understanding if it's not going to count anyway in the numbers because it will be a duplicate, but you still get credit for providing service to the club.
Well, you know, let me think about this. I'll have to go back and look and see how numbers are added, but I think when you duplicate all those numbers out, it doesn't show up on your ES 237.
It does not.
And so then, you know, on the statewide basis, when we look at the ES 237, we don't know that Nita or Erica has provided educational training to their clubs because those numbers aren't reflected in that short-term special interest number. And even when we send it on to the feds, all they get is, you know, the ES 237 that looks like what you print out in your county, except the program compiles it on a statewide basis. So, you know, those numbers are not really adding in to your number.
Right. The contact numbers are not added in because they're all duplicates.
Yes.
But as far as the number of special interest programs conducted, I guess that's my question. Is that added?
Brian,
yes.
Could I insert something?
Sure.
Would the agent's annual narrative be a place to make sure they documented how many special interest programs or how many programs they did for clubs so that that is reflected and recorded as part of their performance?
Yes, I think that would be a more appropriate place to put that for agents, because then you can give some detail. And, you know, in the ES 237, all it is a number of unique individuals reached. So those numbers are not even being reflected in your ES 237. That's a good idea, Sharon. I appreciate you making that suggestion. Okay, good questions and comments. Anything else on delivery modes? Okay, if we haven't made the water enough, we're going to muddy a little more on what to report and what not to report. And I think this will kind of reinforce the discussion that we just had. You know, things that you need to report are when you're conducting educational program, such as your school enrichment, those judging team trainings, those countywide sewing workshops, day camps, leader training. Also, if you have young people going to statewide educational programs like Team Leader Conference, Ambassador Workshop, State Camp, also doing the SNAP Ed and the Organ Wise Guys in the school, those are all things that you should be reporting. I can go ahead to the next slide and talk about what you should not report. And those are things that when you're not doing educational programming, such as achievement banquets, 4-H promotional sessions, when you're going out and promoting 4-H at the Lions Club or the Rotary Club or those kind of things, or when you put a booth at the fair or at the local bank, things like that. Competitions. I know someone asked a text chat about ARAMAs. No, you do not report ARAMAs. You remember, we're reporting educational programming. You know, we've already talked about club meetings and fundraisers. That's just a quick overview of things you should report. But to me, the test is always, did I do an educational program for a group of young people? Does anyone have any questions? Nita, did you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Can we get a copy of this slide, of this PowerPoint?
Yes. I'm not sure how I will send that out, but I will make myself a note here.
Thank you.
Sending this out.
I'm trying to write notes on it all, and I'm not getting it all.
Okay. Here, let me go back.
Thank you. That helps.
Brian, I have a question.
Okay. Yes, Holly.
When we do training or help our 4-H members when we're getting ready for competitions for ORAMA, say we're training them to go to district ORAMA or state ORAMA, and we're working with them one-on-one, we count those because those are educational sessions. Is that correct?
I would say yes. You know, it's not a club situation, but you're doing educational training with those young people.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Where, as far as the delivery modes, are you thinking, I mean, obviously camps, overnight camps and day camps,
Mm-hmm.
but for judging team training, would you do that as short-term special interest?
I would, yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, is there a training component that they can enter in their information when they're doing their?
Yes, there is and I'll show that where you can enter training at the end of the group enrollment series of screens. That's where you report your training as well.
Right, and I think that would be a valid training situation.
Yes.
Was that Nita that asked that question?
What's
Yes,
that?
that was needed to ask the question.
I think that would be an appropriate training to list that in your 4-H online under training when you're training a livestock team or a judging team.
Oh, okay.
Okay, has everybody got the what to report stuff down? Can we move on?
We're good.
Okay. Here's the what not to report. Once again, achievement banquets, promotional sessions, competitions, club meetings, fundraisers, those kinds of things. And let's see, somebody had oops, sorry about that. Somebody had a question, and I lost the text chat.
They wanted to know, do they need to have a sign-in sheet for one-on-one training or judging trainings?
You need I would say you need some way to have document who participated in those trainings, whatever works for you. But yes, you do need to have some kind of documentation in your county office so that you know who's participated in what.
Sign-in sheets are always good.
Yes.
So we don't report any of our county Orama activities?
That's correct, because it's a competition.
That's an activity.
Yes, it's activity.
Hey, Brian, I'm wondering if people are confusing AIMS and this, because we do report that stuff in AIMS, correct?
That's correct, yes. You report all that stuff in AIMS, but in 4-H Online and that goes into the federal ES 237, you do not report those.
Hey, my thought is the less we have to report in one place is good. I'm happy with that. As long as it's getting reported somewhere, that's good.
Yes. Because, the feds are very specific about what they want you to report. And about 4 years ago, they even scaled it back on some of the things they were asking us to report on. The number of clubs they don't ask anymore, the number of units, those kind of things. For those of you who've been around for a while, remember the old ES 237s, they don't ask for that information anymore.
Brian,
yes.
It is unfortunate we don't have a one-size-fits-all report, but each of those reports have a completely different purpose.
Yeah.
And it's just the nature of the beast.
It is.
In my opinion.
Yeah. It would be great if someone was able to build one system that you were able to report at one time, and you could report, pull all the different reports out of, but each funder or each group that needs reports from us needs it in a very specific way, and so that's why we have multiple reporting systems.
So Brian, basically, what's listed now on 4-H Online, that's what the feds are asking for. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Good questions. Anybody else have questions about what to report or what not to report? Okay, we'll move on to our next slide. Duplications. Priscilla, if I remember correctly, I think you were going to tackle that one.
Oh, okay. And, we kind of touched on duplications a few minutes ago, but when you're talking about duplications, as someone mentioned before, it's participants that are reported more than once in the 4-H online system. So, for example, if I go teach at Mr. Bryant's class, and I do a class on nutrition, and I go the first time, and then he asks me back, and I'm doing part 2 of an educational program in his class. The next time that I go and do the educational program, those kids would be duplicates. So basically, when you go do a educational program in a classroom more than one time, though the second time would be duplication. That group would be duplicated. But when you are talking about duplications concerning 4-H members, if you have a 4-H member that is in a educational setting, then the 4-Hers will be duplications because they're already in 4-H online in the reporting system. Does that kind of clarify about duplications?
Any questions about duplications? Okay, well, we will move on. Next thing I want to talk about briefly is projects, and each group enrollment you do must be tied to one project. And they can have multiple projects. So if in Randolph County, if Callie has a day camp and they talk about water quality and nutrition and food safety all that day, then you could tie that one day camp report to those different projects. So the system will not let you get past that first page without reporting a project, but I think we really under-report the number of projects that our group enrollments should reflect, because if we have if we report we have 100,000, we reach 100,000 4-H members in Arkansas in a year, then we should have at least 200,000 projects. Experiences that young people have experienced. So I just wanted to draw attention to this because we really underreport the number of projects. I think a lot of people are just choosing a project and moving on when they do a day camp or whatever they're reporting, they may really have touched on more than one project that day. Any questions about projects? Okay. Well, we're going to talk briefly about the data entry. Then we're going to go over into 4-H Online and kind of just walk through doing the data entry. But your deadline for getting all your group enrollments entered in 4-H Online is Friday, October the 4th. That's 4 days after the end of the 2013 or 2012-2013  4-H year. So we are giving you just a few extra days to get all your data in and get it correct and make sure it's right. And then at midnight on that Friday night, the system will lock you out. So be sure and don't wait till the last minute, and try to cram it all in, and then your computer blows up or your internet service goes down or whatever, and then you're scrambling around. So I just encourage you, if you have not started to enter your data, go ahead and begin working on that and get it in before the deadline. I know September's a busy month with fairs and reports that are due to Sharon around the 1st of October as well. So let's go ahead and just get that all entered in, and so we're not scrambling and gnashing of teeth that happens. And I always get a call, a day or two later, oh, I didn't get started till Friday, and then the phone rang all day. Well, unfortunately, if it's not in, it's not in, and you're not going to get credit for it. And our state, more importantly, our state doesn't get credit for it as well. So please go ahead and get it in, and don't wait for the last minute. 4-H Online rarely goes down, but we do not want to tempt fate, so get it in. Any questions about the deadline of getting your data entered before we step over into 4-H Online for a few minutes? Okay. Give me just a second, and okay. Let's go into my demo county so I won't mess up anybody's reporting. I know y'all all will appreciate that. And okay, so this is your county, your home screen, your screen in 4-H Online. Should look very similar. And let me see if I can move this out of the way here. Here, as everyone that's participated today, have they entered a group enrollment before? Is there anybody who has not entered a group enrollment?
Brian,
okay.
I haven't.
And who's this?
This is Julian.
Hey, Julian. Okay, that's fine. Just wanted to know, where our level of the group is at and the familiarity with it. But so we have the group enrollment icon here on the kind of in the upper left-hand corner of your dashboard of 4-H Online. So I'm going to click on that icon right now, and let me just caution you, since we have begun the rollover process, that you're going to have to make sure that you enter your group enrollments in the correct year during the month of September. When October hits, and after October the 4th, you won't have to worry about it. So that you'll get it entered in the correct year. But we want to choose the 2012-2013 4-H year, so that we get it all. You get it all in the right year. So you can see here, I have entered some group enrollments before. So here's the list showing up on the screen of the ones I've done in the 2012-2013 4-H year. To begin adding a group enrollment, here in the upper left-hand corner, in I believe it's blue letters, it says add group enrollment, and when you hover over it with your mouse, it turns black, so you want to click on that. And this is the screen that should come up for you, and there's several things that are required, and what I tell people is you have to remember that 4-H Online is used in about 14, 15 states, and so through the years there's been some things added that may not always pertain to us, but there's a few requirements here. And so the first thing that it requires is the program name. So let's do St. Francis County Consumer Judging. That's the name, and it always another thing that's required is a start date and an end date. And so today is the 4th of September, and so I'm going to go ahead and just say it's going to start and end today. The next line here is the 4-H year. This is another place that right now you've got to be sure that you choose the correct year, because right now while we're in the rollover period and we're reporting on the current 4-H year, not the one that's coming up, you've got to choose the 12-13 year. And then the next thing here on the next line is the club group. And you should probably already have lots of clubs and groups entered if you've been entering group enrollment. But if you do not, then you have to click on there's a drop down, and so for if you're going to Miss Smith's 5th grade class or Miss Jones' 6th grade class, that is a group. And you may go back to Miss Jones' 6th grade class every year. So once you create that group once, it's always going to be in there. But we have a consumer judging group, but I'll go ahead and create a new group just so we can walk through the process for everyone. So
hey, Brian?
yes. Mm-hmm.
On the, you mentioned on the school groups, you can click back on it each year, and it's,
Yes.
but what, you know, the classes change every year, the demographics changed. Is that going to make a difference? When you select on that group, is it going to keep the same demographic?
No, it is, that group is not tied to a demographic group, because you're going to enter the demographics for this enrollment. So, okay. Yeah, Ms. Jones is going to be there every year, but that's just a kind of a placeholder for that group.
Okay.
And this is a 4-H special interest short-term delivery mode. And then I believe the rest of these are not required fields. But so then down here on the bottom of the screen is the list of projects that for some reason 4-H Online chooses not to alphabetize. And we've worked on this, and our efforts so far have not been very successful. So I'm going to find I'm going to call it consumer education. That's probably the closest thing to consumer judging that is in the list. And so after I select the project, I'm going to click on Add Project. However, if this is like a day camp situation and we talked about consumer judging and foods and nutrition, you just select the second project and then click on Add Project, and you have 2 projects there. Is there any questions about this first page before I move on? Either I'm doing a really good job or everybody's so bored they have fallen asleep.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
I have a question. Do we, the rest of that stuff, I know you mentioned that some states require different information than we need. That presenter, location, zip code, number of hours. Do you need that stuff from us?
We do not need that.
Okay.
I know that some states require, like for their school enrichment, they require their school enrichment to be a minimum of so many hours of training. At this point in time, my understanding is we do not have any requirements on the number of hours a training must last for you to be able to get credit for it. But you know, if you have that information and you want to keep it for your own information, so you know, maybe 2 years down the road, you're like, we went to Miss 5th grade class and talked about something, but I don't really remember what we did or how long we were there, or what, if you had to volunteer, doing school enrichment or doing some training for you, you could always put that information in there, and it would be there so you have it. But it's not it's not one of the required fields that you have to put in every time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I click continue at the bottom, and Amy asked about, when you select Miss Jones' 5th grade class, about being tied to demographic information. Here, this is where you're going to enter your information. So in our consumer judging training, we have such an outstanding consumer judging program in St. Francis County. We had 10 males, and then we had 10 females, because I like good round numbers so that I don't have to do lots of math. So 5 of our males that came to this training are already 4-H members. So they're going to be a duplicate. So I'm going to enter 5 there. And then 5 of our females also were 4-H club members. So I'm going to enter 5 in that field as well. So that with the duplicates removed, we have a total of 10 people, 10 new individuals that we reach through this educational program. And then, so that's the magic number that we're going to have to enter all the way down through this page is 10. So we're going to have 5 non-Hispanic whites, and we're going to have, let's see, I need 10, so I'm going to add 3 Black or African Americans, and then we had maybe 2 Asian individuals that participated. So we come up with our total of 10 down here on the bottom of that subtotal there. And then so I'm going to move on down to the residence distribution. And so we think that all of these individuals lived in a town of 10 to 50,000. So I would report 10 as well. And St. Francis County was targeting 9th graders for this training, and so that we know that we had 10 9th graders there. And so hopefully all of our numbers match now, and we can go on to the next screen. So does anybody have any questions about entering the demographic information or the removal of duplications here on this screen? Okay, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go back and change one of my answers here. I'm only going to put 9 there so that you will see what the system does if your numbers do not match. So it says that our gender, racial, and residence distribution do not match, and it will not let you go to the next screen. So I'll change that to 10. Then I'll come down to the bottom and click continue, and it will let us go to the next page. Okay, on the last screen here of the group enrollment is our volunteers and reporting of volunteers who have helped in our educational program. 2 things here: there's adult volunteers and youth volunteers, and so for our training purposes, we were really volunteer heavy this day over in St. Francis County. So we're going to have 2 Hispanic white volunteers, and we had these are adults, and then we had also 2 non-Hispanic whites. And then we had some 12th graders who are super duper 4-H members who are great in consumer judging, and so they came and helped with our training that day as well. And so I'm going to enter some information here, just so that we'll have a wide variety of information. And so we have 8 adult volunteers and we have 8 youth volunteers. And youth volunteers is another area that I would say that we probably do not report enough volunteers in looking at our ES237, because many of you are using team leaders, state 4-H ambassadors, and such to help in your educational programming and training. But that number is not being reflected because our youth volunteer numbers on our ES237 are pretty low for a state the size that we are. So we have 8 adult volunteers and we have 8 youth volunteers. The next box down is the adult classification of direct and indirect. Does anybody know what an indirect volunteer is?
Is that one that helps you before you actually do the programming? That don't have direct contact with the kids you do programming with?
That's close. Indirect volunteer is going to be someone that serves on your program 4-H expansion and review committee, or your 4-H foundation board, or maybe even a judge at some event. Those are indirect volunteers because they do not have direct contact with the young people. the volunteers that we had come help with our consumer judging training, they worked directly or, side by side. They interacted with those young people, so they would be direct volunteers.
Hey, Brian, I have one more question.
Okay. No.
These volunteers, they are certified 4-H volunteers or not? Because when I do a lot of school programs, I have other teachers that aren't 4-H volunteers that come in and help, and also the children, some of the children help. So,
yeah, I would say that they do not have to be, certified volunteers,
okay,
because those teachers, they're there, they're helping you with the training, and then we're not requiring our 4-H members to go through the volunteer screening process.
right.
So yeah, you would count both of those.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay.
Up there it says new volunteers only. So if you used a teacher or somebody like that, or a 4-H member, they would not be considered new, would they?
Gay, I think that's one of those things that appears on here because of some other state. So I don't get hung up on that new volunteer only there. So I would say ignore that. Good questions.
That's probably why our numbers are low.
It may be. It may very well be. I hadn't thought about that, but however, they've been low for a long time. When you say that, Priscilla, that our volunteer numbers in general for many years we have felt like they've been underreported. Turn your microphone on, Priscilla.
Yes, the volunteers and also the training has been underreported for many, many years.
So it just wasn't something new that came along when we moved from Blue Ribbon to 4-H Online. That's been something we have felt it's been underreported for a long time.
Brian, I have a question.
Yes.
We do not duplicate 4-H members or people in the groups, but we can duplicate volunteers.
No.
Did you hear that, Holly?
Yes.
Okay.
So what the other lady was asking when she said new volunteers only, that is true then, because if I have Jane Doe that helps me in my 4-H camp, and then I have Jane Doe that helps me with presentations, I only count her one time.
Priscilla, you want to answer that?
No, I got feedback. I didn't hear what she said.
I am too. I'm trying to figure out what it is, if I'm the cause of it. She was saying that, if Jane Doe volunteer helps with 4-H camp, and then she also comes and helps with consumer judging training, then you don't duplicate.
She would be a duplicate. She would be a duplicate because she's already in the system.
So Priscilla, what you're saying, you'd only enter her the first time she comes and helps with the training.
Right. If you're doing that group enrollment with the volunteers, yes. Was that clear, Holly?
Okay, so on the member distribution, we would only count her once, but on the volunteer distribution, we would count her again that she helped those other hours.
Okay,
I've never done this before, or am I totally confused?
Brian, because she's talking about the distribution of on this page, does this take out the duplicates?
It does not.
Okay.
See, I'm gonna
Are we going to get to the page with the duplicates?
Holly, on the first page is the members, and so there's no volunteers in that. But then on the last page, right here, is the volunteers, and the way that it's calculated now is maybe different from how it was in the past. There's not a place to take out duplicates of volunteers.
Okay. Well, I retract that then. Since there's not a place to take out the duplications for the volunteers, then I guess since there's not a place, then you wouldn't take out the duplication for the volunteers. Because I thought it was a section.
No.
No.
There's not a place to take out the duplicates.
Okay.
On volunteers.
But it does say new volunteers only.
But I think that we're not using that option, are we, Brian?
No, we're not.
Thank you, Brian and Priscilla.
You're welcome. Okay, the last thing here on the volunteer screen is what we have been alluding to is the training distribution. Y'all have been asking about reporting training. You can, if you just have say a volunteer training, a parent volunteer training on a Monday night, this is where you would report this. And so you would create a group enrollment, but you could leave the member information blank, and you can also skip all the way over to the volunteer distribution and do not have to put that in, and just report your training here on the bottom of this, which is a little different than the old program that we used to use. But this is where you report training of volunteers. You would not use that on this example since we're doing a group enrollment for young people. But this is where you report training of volunteers here on the bottom of this screen. Okay, so you want to be sure and hit Save Form. Oops, and let's see here. There's one other thing that people are concerned about. Here at the bottom it says Submit Form, and that is just a way for you to know that you have completed this, because we know that you always get interrupted in the middle of doing the data entry. And so when you submit it, that's just a way for you to know that, okay, I'm finished with this group enrollment and it's good to go, and I'll have to go back to it. It does not, whether you click or don't click the submit form, that does not impact whether your numbers are counted. When you complete this and hit Save Form, those numbers are counted on your ES-237. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
Brian, I have a question.
Okay.
I was trying to actually enter the consumer judging that I did for my team, and whenever I entered them, since all of them were 4-H members on that number 2 screen, member distribution, it put it as -4, and I didn't put the racial because they're already in there in the residence and the grade distribution, and it won't let it go to the next screen.
Okay. Do you have 4-H Online pulled up?
Yeah.
Okay. We're fixing to get crazy here, so just a second. And okay. Okay, Anna, pull up your 4-H Online, and I think there's a way that we can take a look at that, what's on your screen.
I have 4-H Online on my laptop, and I'm using the iPad to watch you.
Okay.
But I can turn the video on and let you see the screen.
I've done this before.
Or
That's
you
why
could
I
do
like.
it on the computer and change, because it's the same that you had created, and just change the numbers and see if it
Yeah.
does.
Okay. Let me just do that. Okay. So tell me your numbers here that you put in, and we'll see if we can figure this out.
It was 0 on the left-hand column on both male and female, and 2 male duplicates and 2 female duplicates.
Oh, okay. You're gonna have to report them. You're gonna have to put the numbers over in
Everyone's on the left, and then you put your duplicates on the right.
Yes, yes. So if you had, say, 2 males and they were both duplicates, then you put 2 duplicates. Then if you had 2 females that participated, and then you had 2 females that were duplicate, it would come to 0.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what you do. Yeah, you have to report the total number of people that participated on the left-hand side, and then if they're 4-Hers, you're going to put that same number on the right-hand side.
I remember that now.
Good question. Okay, who else has a question?
Brian, I have a question.
Okay.
We had a committee meeting yesterday that was adults planning for our safety day that we have in October. We had 6 adults here preparing for safety day, all volunteers.
Yes.
Would you prefer that those volunteers be reported with the group enrollment once we actually conduct the activity, or do we need to document that planning session in 4-H Online?
Priscilla, I'm going to defer that one to you.
Nita, I would use the first, you said I would document them when you actually do your program.
Okay.
But then it may be a way that you can capture that. I don't know with Ames, since you did have a planning meeting, I don't know if that can go into Ames so that you can, I guess get credit or report that you are working with a volunteer group.
Yes, there is a spot in Ames to document it, but I just wasn't sure on 4-H Online if you needed to. I mean, would be duplicates, because all the volunteers that were here will be there in October. So I was just curious about that.
Okay, Anita Hale Wells has asked has a question. How would you enter a county extension council youth subcommittee meeting with 10 attending? 2 are youth and 2 are volunteers. Anita, what are the other 6 people that attended? Are they like people in the community that may not be a traditional volunteer?
All right, she may not have any audio. I'm trying to scroll down.
Okay.
To pick up her name. I'm not seeing.
Okay.
I'm not seeing her picture.
She said she's got her microphone muted there.
I see Kathy. I do see her now, but why don't you repeat the question?
The question was, how would you enter a county extension council youth subcommittee meeting with 10 attending? 2 are youth and 2 are 4-H volunteer leaders.
If you have 10 on the committee, 3 need to be youth.
Okay.
I mean, technicality.
Technicality there. Those are things we all need to know and hear, so thank you.
Civil rights.
Yes.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. This subcommittee, if all the other adults are not direct volunteers, they're just adults who serve on the committee.
Okay. So are you wanting to know about the duplications, or do you need to enter them as a group enrollment? I guess I'm not following exactly what your question is.
Do we enter them as a group enrollment, and would you go through how you do it?
I would not enter them as a group. Are you doing an educational? You're having just a meeting with them? Is it educational? Are you doing a teaching or just a subcommittee?
No, it's just a subcommittee meeting.
I would tend probably to put that more into aims, because with a group enrollment, you need to be doing some type of educational activity or lesson with that group. Or if you were doing a training with that council group, then you could enter that into training. So with the other participants, when you all work with your extension council, are you putting that group into aims?
Yes, but we thought we were still supposed to put it in group enrollment on the online.
Well, we mentioned earlier that that's what the indirect volunteers were, right?
Right, but they're having. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right, Amy. I could see that. But when she said meeting, that just kind of threw me off, because I'm thinking of something that you're having a meeting, maybe planning or discussing something within the county or within that group.
That's what, I mean, like the County Extension Council and the 4-H Subcommittee, that's basically what that is. But
right.
But then we mentioned earlier that that's what indirect volunteers are on this group enrollment, so I wasn't real sure. We're your council members, basically. Right? Did I understand that wrong?
Yes, correct.
Probably what I would do is I would do a group enrollment once a year to enter those indirect volunteers, such as your subcommittee, your youth subcommittee, your foundation board, so they are reflected in your numbers. But I would not do that every time they have a meeting.
Right. Okay.
So that we're reporting those volunteers as participating in our program, but we're not keeping up with every time they come together and do something, since they're not fulfilling an educational role there.
Right. Okay. Because, Brian, isn't it, and I know that you went over this, when they enter their program into the screen for group enrollment, there is a section where you can click on indirect or direct volunteers. Is that correct, or am I just?
No, that is correct.
Okay, right.
So here on the volunteer distribution, down here right. You have, your youth and adults can either be either direct or indirect. Okay. Any other questions about group enrollment?
Hey, I have a question real quick, Brian. And then, I'm sorry, I hope I don't confuse you all either. On that training distribution,
yes.
Down at the bottom,
yes.
Do we enter, when we have like 4-H after school provider trainings, or if we do like a teacher training and they're not necessarily official adult volunteers, do we list them in this other adults under training distribution?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
When you do training, you need to report it down here on the bottom of the screen. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question.
Brian, previously whenever I've put things into the group enrollment and like it was just adults that I did the trainings, I put the delivery mode as not connected with youth group. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say that is correct. That's my understanding. Okay, great questions. We're going over our time just a few minutes, but we don't want to, you know, if people have questions, we want to get them answered. So. Any other questions? Well, if no one has any questions, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And I want to thank Priscilla for helping present today, and Sharon, thanks for participating as well. And I want to thank each of you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to participate. And we hope that you found this a good use of your time, and it was helpful, that you feel more confident in what you're doing to get your group enrollment entered in. And once again, you have till October the 4th. And be looking for some upcoming just general 4-H online trainings. We're trying to find locations and get dates nailed down for those over the next couple of months. So unless anyone has a final question, we will call this good.
Thank you, Brian and Priscilla.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you. Callie, come for lunch on Friday. We'll be here.
Okay. Hey, Brian, I got a little bone to pick with you, but